The penultimate episode.
It's true.
Season 1.
Bum, 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 bum. So bum, bum, bum.
Here it is. It's your favorite. You get some exercise. I haven't exercised in months. Basically, some pop-ups.
Maybe a little strong. Hello everyone, it's good to see you all.
It's a little strong.
It might be, I'm not sure.
Also a little water. So you can always make it lighter. You can't make it any thicker.
I'm not sure it actually was though. I was just saying, I just had a little sip, so.
Man, this is so weak.
Hello everybody. Hello, hello. World, let the sunshine brighten your day. You're about to get terrible. Okay. Bum. I like the little harpsichord in the background. If I could have one instrument follow me and it wasn't the French horn around, it'd be the harpsichord. Can you imagine if you just walking into the room? Hello, everyone.
Yes, that's true. It's true. If harpsichords could follow us.
bum bum bum, ba-dum bum 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 bum.
All right, well, welcome everyone to our little.
Good morning.
Hello, welcome for our little musical
show.
Glad you're tuning in with us. Welcome to Fireside Chat, the penultimate episode of season 1 or ever. I don't know, but
Right. John had the anti-penultimate. I have the penultimate.
That's right.
Tomorrow we'll have the ultimate, and we have some.
it is the ultimate.
We have some exciting news about the show tomorrow.
Yes.
I have received a text message from a good friend of mine named Father Anthony Merson, and he will be joining us for the last official daily episode of the Fireside Chat. So we'll have it will actually be revolutionary for our
Revolutionary.
For the
big grand finale of Fireside Chat. We'll have
exactly.
a 4-person cast, so everyone will be here. So
Whether they like it or not.
Well, we should have invited the Levin photographer to come on.
Perhaps.
His name was.
Yeah, a little way wrong. Yeah.
And then, we had some other guest appearances via Zoom. We had Mary, and we had Javine, and we had Karen. They all appeared.
Karen?
I think Karen Pepich gave a little
Karen
push
Pepich
for
did.
the.
Yeah. I remember that now.
We were trying something there. We didn't really go anywhere, but trying to get.
Other voices.
Other voices. I think Mary Mueller's thing of the musings with Mary, I think that kind of took over that piece and
I think you're
kind of
right.
solved that thing about getting other voices. And then I did the Bible study, which is the Zoom thing with other voices. And so trying to do other things that way. So, well, welcome. How are you? I'm glad to have you tuning in for this episode. So,
So last night, John and I did something new.
what did you do?
We played tennis.
Oh, that's right.
Or something that approached tennis. It looked like tennis, but it was probably not actually tennis.
You had the you had rackets.
We had rackets. We had a tennis ball.
Tennis balls.
We went down to the tennis court, which is in our little community. We have access to a tennis court, which is actually really nice. I think we're probably the only rectory in the diocese that has access to a tennis court.
Might be true.
I mean, I honestly can't think. I'm sure some priests might be able to work things out with their connections or whatnot, but we didn't. We just have a key. Go unlock it. It's great. I don't know how to play tennis. That's the problem. So when I was in high school, I was required. I had a very interesting PE class. I don't know what your PE class was, but did your PE class have written tests in it?
I think so.
Okay, we had written tests and we had skill tests, what they were called. And we would study a sport for 2 weeks at a time. And you'd have to learn how to play that sport, the rules of that sport. And then by the end, you'd have to take a written test about the said rules. And you would have to have a skill test. And, you would basically hit, if it was badminton, we played badminton, we played bocce, we played everything. You'd have to hit the tennis ball if you're doing tennis and get it within the right square 10 times, and you got points for how many times you did it. And we did that for tennis, but I don't remember any of the rules.
Okay.
So obviously I really studied hard, is what I'm telling you.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a whole lot of rules. On the serve, you have to serve it to the other side.
Right? Don't you have to hit in the little square? I feel like it has to bounce in the little square.
Right. Into that square on it. So if I recall, I haven't played a whole lot of tennis, but that's pretty much the only rule. You cross over there. You have to hit it over to the other square. It has to bounce once. I don't remember if you can. I don't think you can hit it. I don't remember if you can hit it. The serve without a bounce, but the rest of the stuff you can hit without a bounce, and then just have to watch which. If you're playing doubles and you use the outside ones, if you're playing singles, you use the inside ones.
What about the birdies and things like that? What do they call it?
I think that's golf.
Oh, whoops. That wasn't intentional. Sometimes I do intend. No, that wasn't. What do they call it? Like double.
Well, the scoring is a
scoring,
little. Yeah, the scoring is a little tricky. I think it's that love. I think you're getting the love.
Oh, because lovebirds makes sense, right?
Right. Yes.
Sorry.
Lovebirds.
Does you see my point?
Right. I do. Mm-hmm. So I don't remember. I think is it 15, 30, 45. I don't remember how the scoring goes, and I think love is when it ties. But I don't remember the scoring so much. But as far as the other rules besides the scoring, it's just like hit it within the box. I think that's pretty much the rules. Don't touch the net.
Okay.
A fault is when it doesn't go over the net.
Can you
on
cross
serve.
the beams?
Don't cross the beams.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing, isn't it?
What about the Twinkie? All right. So very good.
But it's very exciting. So if you guys have any tips on tennis playing, or you guys want to, if anybody wants to give me a lesson, I'm a good student. I take instructions very well.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I played some tennis. My good friends, the Books over at Sacred Heart, they're like really good tennis players. All of their kids played at St. James, and then Caleb came back, and I think he was a coach also for St. James. I don't remember if he was like the head coach or like a helping out something for the kids there. So, but they all play tennis, and then Sarah's sister Amy, I think, is the head tennis coach there at St. James. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is the group that the family sometimes go on the vacations with. And years ago, when I bought what I thought was I had this racket.
It's amazing.
And all this time I thought it was a tennis racket. It was a racquetball racket. So I bought a racquetball racket.
It's all a racket. That's what I say.
I thought I bought a tennis racket at some point though, because of going on vacation with the Books. But one year, it must have been like 2005 or. No, it was probably 2007. There was the summer that we played a lot of tennis.
Okay.
But now they've gotten really good, so I couldn't really compete with them. But we can go and goof around, and I was just saying I need to get some exercise because it's been a long time since I've got some good exercise. So. But hopefully what?
I was gonna go ahead.
Well, but hopefully, so I have a bike now, which I've done a little bit of biking around, not too much, but a little bit. But now with not having to haul the equipment back and forth to the church, I might be able to bike up to the church more and stuff. True. So I'm gonna try to do that. It is a good distance to the church. It's it's about a mile or so. So that makes a good little exercise there and back.
We looked it up yesterday. It's 0.9 miles.
0.9. Okay.
Just for curiosity.
Yeah. So,
not correcting. We looked it up yesterday.
That's about a mile.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I'm not correcting. It was just no fact.
No, that's right. Because I would say when from the distance between St. John and Sacred Heart at Our Lady of Unity is 1.6 miles, and I was always kind of obnoxious about saying it was 1.6, because I made that route a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And occasionally I walked that route. That was a good little walk there to get up to church.
Going down memory lane, does anybody remember when Blackfish was closed? That was painful.
I've tried to block that out of my memory, but because I was walking quite a bit, and then they closed, and I couldn't walk up there anymore. And then I really got out of the habit. So
when I first came, Blackfish was closed.
Yep.
So I honestly did not realize how close we were to the church parish because for the first month, maybe two.
Yeah,
it was a long time.
It was a long time.
I would have to go around the block, and it took me 7 minutes or so to get to church.
Well, it was basically up until the fall festival. Because remember, they were questioning whether we could do the run or not, and you did the run.
Oh, I did. Yeah, that's right.
So it was the 28th or whatever September. So 2.5 months.
2.5
almost 3 months.
Oh, was it that long? It was a long time.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. July to August to September. 2 months. 2 months.
2 months. And here's the thing about
3.
That's not just you hear 7 minutes and you're like, oh man, but my what do you call it when you go commute, thank you, that's the word. My commute takes 25 minutes. You're right. I'm not saying it's any worse, but what's hard as a priest is that you end up going back and forth to the rectory several times a day because you got meetings in the morning, then you don't have meetings, so you go back to the rectory, do some reading. You got a meeting in the afternoon. You may go back another time to go take a or something. You can go back and forth to the rectory 2 or 3 times a day, and it starts to add up. It does. So I'm not saying we have it any worse, but we definitely have it better now.
Well, it is rare for a priest to have a commute to the office. That's pretty rare for us. So a 7-minute commute in priest lingo, that's a lot.
You might as well live in South Dakota. We can have my nephews teach me. I didn't know that Keanu and Dylan played tennis. That was a fact I did not realize. So, Keanu and Dylan are Danny's sons.
Okay.
And their ages now. Shoot, Dylan's probably like 19 now, and Keanu's 13 or 14. So correct me, Danny. So.
All right. So yeah, let us know if you have any questions. I'm going to go over to the camera before I forget, and I forgot 2 days ago, and it was very, very sad. So let me.
And they were lonely, so very lonely.
I know. Don't remind me how sad.
Competitively, I had no idea. Why did nobody tell me?
I don't know.
19 and 15. Oh, I was almost there. Shoot.
What are we drinking today?
We are drinking Kansas City Blend Dark.
All right. So I would see here is Kansas City Blend Dark. That's what we're drinking today. That is our coffee. So I want to say hello to Rachel and to Rosalie and Laura. Look, it's the other guy. He's back there. Father Ashmore's in the camera.
That's generally what I go by, the other guy.
So, okay. I hope that you're having a great day today, and I hope to see you soon as we get more into summertime. So happy day to you, and happy day to the Dryling girls. If you're watching, I hope you have a great day as well. And yeah, I will go back to the camera. Maybe. There we go. And a clickety click. So, very good.
So Terry Rotes is wondering whether or not John beat me in tennis. And I will say that it was a very mild tie. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Neither one of us played well enough to have merited the title of beating each other. By the end, our goal was just to have a volley. And we had a volley.
Oh, you got like 5, right?
We had a volley of 5, so
yeah,
that was our goal. Neither one of us played tennis before last night, really, so.
Now, I did used to play a lot of racquetball in college and in seminary. And that was my main form of exercise. I really enjoyed racquetball. Racquetball is a fun sport, too, because it's the racquetball courts at Mundelein, they were redone, maybe handball courts or something. So there were some, which is a different game, and I've never played handball, but they were like, racquetball is kind of fun because each of the courts are made a little bit differently. So when we played, basically everything was in, but there was like grates on the side, so that sometimes you hit off the side and it would bounce off the grate funky, or there were like hanging down light structures on the top or whatever, and all of that was considered in. So if you hit it just right, you could hit it and it'd bounce off the wall, hit the light structure, then go back, and you had to hit it before it hit the wall. And
interesting.
Part of the strategy of the racquetball court is knowing your court. So, yeah, but I played a lot of racquetball. My brother, Mike, introduced me into racquetball, and I used to play on Monday evenings at his apartment complex back in Topeka. So he introduced me to the sport, and
fascinating.
I always loved it. So it's good exercise.
So I have a great story about racquetball.
Oh, I can't wait.
My good friend, Father Hagany, over at Curia of Ars, was playing racquetball with the newly ordained Deacon Chadwick. Deacon Chadwick will be a priest this next year, and he was just ordained a deacon. Father Hagany is the associate pastor, the parochial vicar over at Curia of Ars. And those two were playing racquetball at one point over at Kenrick. And somehow the locking mechanism on the door got stuck. And so they were playing. They got locked in. It was a Friday before, I believe, Labor Day. So very few people were on campus because they were going to play racquetball and get tied it up and then head off, and so they got stuck there, and they ended up having to saw themselves out by using the racket. They jimmied the locking mechanism out, and they sawed through the door with the racket to get out of there.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh.
They probably never played again.
I don't know. I think they did.
Wow.
Yeah, they got stuck there calling out, but they didn't bring their cell phones.
No, of course
because
not.
they were going and playing.
Sure.
Right. So they were calling, but nobody could hear because it was in the basement of the
Sure.
seminary. It's out in
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But they had. Can you imagine Father Hagney sawing?
That is the most horrifying and hilarious story.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's
man.
awful.
We were trying. We kept. This is kind of probably bad. We were trying to decide which one would eat the other by the end.
Well, that's exactly where I went as well. I hate to say. To flip a coin.
Because they could be stuck in there for 3 or 4 days.
Right.
Yeah. They couldn't get out. Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh my goodness! What a horrible story. I'm glad it ended well, and no one was eaten, so that's good.
Right.
Wow. That is the worst time to get locked into the
I think it was before Labor Day. If it wasn't before Labor Day, it was before a several-day break.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whew.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine?
I'll have to
Father
Colin about
Hagney
that.
sawing through the door with a racket. racket.
That's really awful.
Mm-hmm.
What other questions might you have for us today? What was I was going to mention something as well. What was I going to ask? What was I going to mention?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Mm-hmm.
We had a really good Tuesday Night Live session last night, so you might tune into that. It was we were talking about adultery, going through the commandments. We didn't really talk much about adultery, but
That's
Michael
always the most exciting section.
Right. So Michael and Sarah were just talking about the virtues of marriage, and we talk so much about thou shalt not, but why thou shall? Why shall thou?
Mm-hmm.
Why be faithful to marriage? And it was just I thought their testimony was great, and so tune into that if you missed it last night. And because the catechism, we've been going through the catechism, and so we talk. The catechism talks about all kinds of the sins against chastity, adultery, all those things. I'm not going to go through those on this program because I don't want to get flagged for inappropriate content on this one either. But it goes through all that stuff as well, and so look through that. But instead of focusing on that, we mentioned that. We went through a little bit of that, but it was more about the beauty of what fidelity is, and that's why you don't commit adultery, is because marriage is something beautiful. It takes work, but it's beautiful. So
that is interesting.
Yeah.
I always love the phrase. I love to flesh out the phrase that a lot of people think is a negative connotation, but it's actually a really positive thing.
Okay.
The early church fathers and the Catholic tradition often speaks of marriage as what's called the cure for concupiscence.
Okay.
And so what a lot of people interpret that is oh, well, you're going to fall into these sins, so you might as well get married. It won't be a sin.
Can't contain yourself.
But that's actually not what it means at all. It's all about the fact that the relationship between the husband and the wife, that mutual love they experience, helps to better each other. Mm-hmm. And so marriage is a cure for concupiscence, concupiscence is your desire for sin, because your love for each other makes you want to love more purely and makes you want to be better human beings for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people think that a lot of the teaching about marriage are negative things, like you can't do this, or it's a cure for concupiscence. But it's actually a very positive reality that by getting married, you become a better person because you're now giving yourself in an act of love. And when you give yourself in an act of love, it transforms your whole life. So it's a cure for concupiscence in that way. Mm-hmm. Isn't that a beautiful way to look at it, rather than oh well, St. Paul kind of gets accused of this sometimes.
Right.
He actually says at one point, it's better to be married than to burn.
Yeah, right.
And it's true. I mean, it's that one meaning of it is true, but it's incomplete.
Right.
That the human person does have this natural sexual desire. It's very good, and if you can't control it, then it's better to be in a marriage and not.
Sure.
But that's such a reductionistic way of what the church is actually teaching.
Right.
Because the church is actually teaching that we're made better by love when it
Right.
says it's a cure for concupiscence.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it maybe lines up also of just rules are good for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember Bishop Barron talking about that we sometimes think the rules are bad, but imagine a play like the sport of basketball is good because it has rules. The sport of tennis is good because it has rules. If you don't have rules and you're just hitting the ball wherever, well then there's no fun. Now, Calvin ball from Calvin and Hobbes, I guess that's really fun. That's kind of fun to talk about, just play and imagine or whatever. And that's fine and good, but we are better when we have direction, when we have a place to go, when we have rules. And so for marriage, when you've got I want to love, I love, but where does that go? And so to say, I love this person, it goes in a direction.
And what does it mean to love?
Right.
It means to love faithfully. It means to love
fully, fruitfully, and faithfully, because we talk about the 4 F's. The faithfully, fully, fruitfully.
Fecund?
Did I say no? We didn't use fecund.
Oh, okay.
But that is an F. That is an F word.
That is an F word. Faithful. I thought it was 3, but maybe
There were 4.
There were 4. Okay.
Yeah, they're on my notes downstairs.
Interesting.
But tune in.
Okay.
Faithfully,
Fully.
freely.
Freely. Oh yeah, freely. Yeah, you're right. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Dr. Hogan would not be proud of me because we had to remember those at one point. I forgot about that. I always more remember Proles Fides Sacramentum, which is the children, faith, and sacrament. That's the one I always think of. But interesting.
So we were talking about them Michael and Sarah have an effing good marriage.
Yeah. Oh my. Right. But
focusing on those F's.
Yes. What you just got on a minute ago was really fascinating. We human beings yearn for rules. People don't think we do. Right. But what are you going to do if you have, or what are you going to see? Pardon me. If you bring a group of children together, 3 to 10-year-olds, before reason, 3 to 7, but 3 to 10, because we all know that like 8, 9-year-olds aren't super reasonable. 3 to 10-year-olds, what are they going to do? They're going to develop rules. If they're going to play a game, there's going to be rules. They're going to figure out where the hierarchy is. It's part of humanity that we need those rules. We need that structure. Whenever we get into the setup that we think that freedom, as we understand it, demands a lack of structure or lack of rules or anything of that sort, we're really acting in contrary to human nature. Human nature naturally forms these boundaries because we need those boundaries. Right. The worst thing you can do for a child is let the child live without boundaries, because the child yearns for those boundaries. A father, pushing his son back a little bit, showing him the boundaries of life. A mother doing the same for her child is one of the most important things you can do for them. Now, obviously, that's not controlling, but it's showing them. They need to be able to push back on those boundaries to see how the world exists, and that makes us happy. It doesn't make the kids happy necessarily in the moment, because they want to do whatever they want to do. But in the end, yes, that is good for us. Exactly. There's a big theme within Pope John Paul II, that freedom and responsibility. This idea that we cannot have true freedom without having those boundaries, because you never know exactly what freedom is then. And then that freedom also, it becomes, if my freedom contradicts with your freedom, whose freedom wins? There's always a competition of wills that ends up happening. But true freedom is the flourishing of the human person that comes about when we've embraced the boundaries of existence, and we can flourish within the boundaries of existence. Right. And that's what Bishop Barron would also say with that sports analogy, is that great basketball players or baseball players or whatever, they learn the rules, and then they learn how to really, then you see a beautiful game. I love the sport of baseball, and ever since when the Royals were good, I realized again how awesome that sport is, and there's so much in the beauty and everything, and learning how to function within that structure is what makes the sport beautiful. If it's just like, well, whatever goes, well, that's not beautiful and it's not compelling. But then also it's kind of fun, this is a little bit of a side note, but it's also fun that because sometimes the rules shift a bit or they change a bit. I mean, not the standards or whatever, but just the understandings of those shift a little bit, so it falls out of the analogy a little bit. But like I was rewatching, so they have these reruns of baseball games because there's no baseball on now and it feels like baseball season.
and they were showing one of the games, Game 6 against the Blue Jays. Anyway, they're showing about how someone stole. I think it was Alex Rios, and he slides in, and then he kind of bounces up. But the rules have changed now with cameras that they can challenge something.
Right.
And it used to be you could pop up and you'd still be safe if you had got to the bag first. But now the players are keeping their glove on them, and if they pop up off the bag, just like a little hair, now they're off the bag, and so they're out. So now they have to adapt to those rules and now play by these rules because now the slide rule has changed. So you have to train yourself now. When I slide,
pop up at all.
don't pop up. You got to make sure you stay in contact with that base the whole time, not for a millisecond get off that bag. Otherwise, you're out. So anyway, that's just a different twist on it. But that's just kind of interesting about. And we can reflect on what that means like for understanding rules. But I mean, the rules stay the same.
Yeah.
I don't know if it fits, but that was just a side note of just watching that baseball game. It's just interesting to see. But the point was, then you learn how to flourish in a different way, right? So you might have slid in one way, and it's man, that was a great steal of the bag or whatever. But now you have to find out. Okay, now we have these rules. Now how can I flourish and really be a good base stealer with this? So that flourishing within the context of the rules was just the
Interesting.
thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that you have to adapt. I think there is. I have to reflect more on that, but like for instance, let's use the we are called to fast on every Friday, and before the Second Vatican Council, it was every Friday, all around the world, all Catholics were called to fast from meat.
Right.
But in the United States, we were given the permission to do our own penance, do something. But the penance was not given up.
True.
You still have to do penance every Friday, except for like Bacon Fridays.
Meat Fridays.
So the rules changed, right, for the United States, but they didn't take it away. But now, how can you flourish in this new reality where the rules have changed a bit? You can still do the meat thing and not have meat, or you could do something else, and there's a chance for virtue and flourishing within these changed context of rules. So, and maybe even have greater sacrifices. Again, like for someone who's a vegetarian, what does a meatless Friday mean for the? It's like, woohoo, I win. But it gives a chance for others to flourish as well. So,
right.
Now you were saying also, I don't remember if it was on this program, but you were talking about how you were thinking that wouldn't it be nice to kind of go back to having that as the rule for the Universal Church again for Fridays?
Yeah, I think it would be a really fascinating thing. I think it would be good for two reasons. One reason is Catholic identity, because I remember reading about the origins of McDonald's and McDonald's fish fillet. Filet-O-Fish, yes, whatever it is. McDonald's realized that they were missing out on a large portion of their profits because Catholics couldn't eat at their restaurants on Fridays.
Right.
And so they made the fish fillet in response to that.
Right.
And I think that's an interesting thing that there was this identity that Catholics don't eat meat on Fridays.
Right.
And that can be a way of uniting us around this one common theme.
Right.
So I think it would be a great idea for uniting us around this one common theme.
Which you still see in Lent. I mean, there's a whole bunch of advertising. All of a sudden, they advertise the fillet of fish like crazy, and every restaurant suddenly has fish on in Lent. So
Exactly.
there still is that piece, but it's just not year round.
Right, exactly. And second of all, I think it would be good, actually, environmentally, because we're saying that one of the best things for us to do at this point, environmentally, would be to cut down on our consumption of meat. We consume a great deal of meat in the United States.
Way more than we should.
Yeah, way more than the rest of the world.
Right.
And I love meat.
Yeah.
I love my hamburgers. I love my steaks. I love my...
What do you have to say in that voice?
I do indeed.
I love my steaks. I love my hamburgers.
But I think it would be an interesting ecological move for us to say, as a church, we recognize that this would be good for us as to have our identity, and to say, ecologically, perhaps this would be a good move for us. So we as a United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, or as a church, are going to not eat meat on Friday as a way of penance, but also as an attempt to, as a body, do a little part for ensuring our ecological stability.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
I think that's a great point. I hadn't really thought about that, but there are some interesting studies and documentaries about how much cornfields it takes, how much land it takes to feed one cow to get that ready so you can prepare that for steaks or whatever, and it takes a lot, and it's pretty interesting. And then all the gasoline and everything, the fossil fuels have to be used to man the tractors to run the corn. Again, I'm not saying everyone be a vegetarian, but there are some ecological things that if we took one day a week to not eat meat as a penance and also as a love for our planet, I think that could be a great kind of combination there. So I think it's a very interesting idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not strict about the no meat on Friday penance myself.
Mm-hmm.
Lent, obviously, I am, but during I do something, and if it's not meat, then I do something else.
Yeah, I generally try to eat. I generally try not to have any meat on Friday, but if I go to someone's house and they serve me meat, I'm absolutely going to eat it, because in that case, I'm receiving their charity, and I think it would be disrespectful of me to be like, oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
I think that'd be very disrespectful.
Right. So whenever I'm served meat on a Friday, I eat it.
I eat it. Mm-hmm.
Right. But I usually don't. When I have the decision, that's what I often do on a Friday. When I have the decision of can I eat meat or not, I generally try to say I will choose not meat.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't always have that choice. If we're invited over for family dinner or a wedding rehearsal, they have rehearsal dinner sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna order the fish option or the vegetarian option usually.
Right, and that leads us to an important discussion of why we fast. I mean, we don't fast for the sake of fasting.
Mm-hmm.
We don't fast just because it's good not to eat. We fast for the sake of charity, for the sake of growing in love of God,
Mm-hmm.
and for the sake of charity for our brothers and sisters, by gaining merit for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you come into a situation and somebody is serving you meat someone invites us over to dinner, and we were to deny that would be a lack of charity on our part, because we'd be denying somebody's generosity.
Right.
We'd be denying them the opportunity to be generous to us, and that would be wrong. That would not be. That would be contradictory to our very reason for fasting, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's also why you fast is also different depending on your particular vocation in life too. So how you fast and why you do it. So a monk can be more strict about it than we as pastors can be, just from the reality of the fact that we need to have more energy, or we need to be able to accept the generosity of our people, because our people often are generous to us when it comes to inviting us over to dinner and that sort of thing, and they're not doing it for me. I mean, I'm a nice guy, I suppose, but they're not doing it for me. They're doing it for Jesus Christ, and I've got to allow them to do it for Jesus Christ. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, a monk who lives in a monastery or whatever can go to his own cell and not eat meat or not eat anything on Friday or whatever, and he'll be fine, and he can offer that as an opportunity to offer that up for the cross or whatever. But yeah, sometimes you don't have that opportunity. Yes.
Right. I remember several times the curé of ours, John Vianney, was known for fasting intensely, but he would often tell other priests, "You cannot fast like me," and they'd be like, well, "We'd like to," or he's like, "No, you do not have the capacity to. Your body cannot handle it. My body can handle it," and that's just reality.
Right.
You've got to know your particular body, your particular capacity. Your fasting should never stop you from your vocation.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, good stuff there. How did we get on that? I don't remember how we got all the way on that.
You just take the ride. Wherever the river flows, we go.
Jesus, take the wheel. So yeah, do you have any other questions for us? Get your questions together also for tomorrow. If you have any, so Father Anthony Mersman will be here, a brand new priest. You got to experience some of that this past year with Father Ashmore, but he's not the youngest kid on the block anymore.
No.
So
chopped liver now.
That's right. There's nothing less exciting than a second-year ordained priest.
That's true. It's okay. I don't mind.
No, they said the same thing about me. Just sharing the joy. Well, no, I think the less exciting than is a 17-year-old ordained priest. So Father Anthony has not started his new assignment yet. He's still in his vacation mode, and I always recommend, that's always my recommendation for the newly ordained, is get away, don't do anything. We invited him, but there was no pressure. But
No. Well, I mean, he gave no pressure.
he might have given pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, just only do the things that you want to do during that month.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to take a Sunday Mass for somebody, well, do it. But don't get twisted into saying, hey, I need some coverage. Could you come in and cover for me? And the priest might be really excited to do that kind of thing because it's all new. But my recommendation is just take it easy. You'll have those opportunities, right? Because you've had plenty of opportunities to celebrate Mass this year, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Absolutely.
So there's no rush. Take your time. Anyway, so he's going to be coming here, but he won't have any idea really about his assignment at Holy Cross, or now he's going to be the chaplain at Bishop Miege High School.
Yeah, there was a slight change.
Slight
there.
change.
Mm-hmm.
But he won't really have any insight of. It's all theoretical still for him because he's not in that reality yet.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that. Actually, I've been thinking about the fact that I am now in my second year of priesthood. I'm almost to my 1-year anniversary here.
Yes.
Almost. To give us like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah. Did you start July 1st? Or
It would have been July 3rd or 4th. So
Okay.
we're looking at 2 more weeks. It'll be my 1-year anniversary here. And I do feel a little more confident. I feel as I'm entering into this year, I feel a little more like I've got a direction. I know where I'm going this year. It's exciting to enter into my second year of priesthood.
Right, I really felt that too. Now your year has been all weird, of course, because you still have not really experienced like the Easter Vigil or anything, like with congregation, or somewhat, but it's just you haven't really experienced it as a parish normally does. But yes, I remember having that sensation was really clear for me of, okay, I've been through the cycle once, and now I can kind of see how things go, and okay, now I can really start.
Yeah, and I know how the parish works pretty well now after a year here. I'm sure there's still things to learn about the community and all that, but I feel like I've got a pretty good idea of how I want to proceed throughout this year, how I'm going to work out the different programs I'm trying to assist with. And, I feel I'm excited. I'm very excited for this year.
Good.
I got some really cool ideas for the youth group too. I'm really excited about working with the youth group.
So in case we didn't mention, I think we did, but
we did.
Right. Taking over all of youth ministry is now over here with Father Ashmore. So
it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
really.
I am too.
I've been doing a lot of studying over the last couple of weeks, doing a lot of reading, making a lot of connections with parents, and trying to set up some really good programs for the youth of the parish. So if you have any high schoolers, even if they haven't been involved in youth ministry before now, push them on over. I'd appreciate it. So.
Yeah. And I think, Mary Bueller has done a great job, but she's also excited about doing the RCA stuff. She was over there studying in the office the other day, and so just changing up things, and I think, it's all positive. I think so. Excited about all that stuff. So yes, Father Anthony will be here tomorrow. So if you have any questions for him, what it's like to be a newly ordained priest, I think I was saying this that when I was in seminary and even as I was beginning priesthood, I had all these ideas of what I was going to do as a priest. I had a file when I was in seminary. It's like priesthood ideas. I put all these ideas in this file. That was the most worthless file.
I was gonna say
because all these concepts, I think that married people can relate to. It's like, okay, when we get married, we're going to do it this way. Or when we have kids, we're not going to be like those other couples who, they yell at their kids in the grocery store. We're not going to be that. And then what do you find 4 years later? I'm yelling at my kids.
Put that butter down. Quit hitting your brother with the butter. Like, what is this with the butter, kid?
I remember what my father used to say to me. What are you doing? What is the quote from Young Frankenstein?
From Young Frankenstein, when he says, "Oh, I remember thy father, the things he used to say." What did he say? What are you doing sitting there in the bathroom all day? Why don't you get up and give someone else a chance? One of my favorite scenes. Igor's great.
Yes,
Oh,
Igor.
my.
What's your company?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yes, he's probably got all these ideas of. I had this idea when I was going to be the chaplain to Bishop Mier. Said, this would be great. Well, kind of have a little prayer service right as school is beginning. Kids have their backpacks on and everything, and we're going to go and get ready for the day. That is not what high school is like. So
Nope.
I had forgotten. So,
Yeah.
but So tune in tomorrow for our last fireside. Lauren or Karen, someone.
One of them.
Asked about, referred to as our parochial vicar. That is probably the more technical term. I think the associate pastor or assistant pastor, that was kind of
It was kind of hip.
kind of hip, like in the 80s, 90s. I think it's kind of modeled off after many of our Protestant brothers and sisters, associate pastor or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, technically, I use the terms pretty much interchangeably, but when I'm trying to be a little bit more formal and a little bit more correct, I try to refer to him as the parochial vicar.
So associate pastor is actually not a position that exists in the church.
Right.
There's no position called associate pastor.
Right.
In the United States Church after the 1960s, 70s, for some reason that became a vogue term. I don't know the history behind it. But the true title is parochial vicar, which means that, and I can go through, to be a vicar means that your powers within your position are coming through someone else. So I have vicariate powers, like the word vicarious. So I am the vicar of the parochus, and the parochus is pastor, and that's just what it means. The parochus is the Latin term for pastor. So I am the vicar of Father Kent is essentially what it means, parochial vicar.
He does his ministry vicariously through.
Exactly, precisely, right. So associate pastor would, it just doesn't, it's just not a title that canon law uses, it's just not a title that the church uses. I don't get caught up in it. Some priests, refuse to say the word associate pastor. I totally recognize parochial vicar is the right word, but people also look at you weird when you say it, so
Right.
I don't get too caught up in it.
Right. And I was the same way. 17 years ago, it was not in vogue to use the term parochial vicar, so I did not, even though I knew it, well, technically I'm a parochial vicar, but yeah, you say parochial vicar and feel, well, that's a weird term, so I just, associate pastor, it was just easier, and then I didn't have to get into a big conversation about, well, here's what it is. Mm-hmm. But I think people are becoming more accustomed to that term, and it is the more proper term, and so he operates really on my authority to carry out the things of the parish. So anything that I can do, basically he can do. We have vicars, the vicars general. Often a diocese only has one vicar general, but that person really acts on behalf of the bishop.
Right. Mm-hmm. So he's an ordinary, which means that he's got power. He's got power that's like the bishop. You can call it.
Yeah.
Ordinary is power like the bishop. But he only has that power because the bishop has given him that power.
Right.
And so the title we use in canon law in the church is the munus, which means an office. So when you receive an office, you also get the powers associated with that. And there are no powers associated with the parochial vicar position. I have no powers out of my munus, out of my office. But the powers of the pastor come with their own.
You underestimate my
power.
power.
The office of the pastor comes with certain powers, and so I get those powers because I'm operating under him. And same things with vicar general. It's all very fascinating. I enjoy it.
So, technically, the term is parochial vicar, but yeah, I use those interchangeably, especially if I don't want to get into a discussion of what's parochial vicar, I'll say he's the associate pastor. So
exactly.
Yeah. So there's that. So there's your tidbit for the day. Any other questions we got going on here?
I've decided to learn Latin. Do you have any recommendations of books or anything? All suggestions appreciated. Okay, so have you studied any Latin before? Any Latin? Or have you studied any classical language before? I'm waiting for an answer.
Well, we're on delay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's way too long.
A good book is a book entitled A Primer on Ecclesiastical Latin, because that's what you're probably looking for. You're probably not looking for Ciceronian Latin. Nope. LOL. Okay, so A Primer on Ecclesiastical Latin is a good book.
Yep.
I don't remember the author of that one. It does a great job having drills, and that's one of the things you really want to do if you're learning another language is you want to drill the grammar, which means you want to do the grammar over and over and over again. I really like a book called Lingua Latina, which is which includes essentially no English in it. It is like a children's storybook, and the grammar gradually gets more and more complex. But I would never suggest for anybody to pick up that book on its own. I would suggest them using that book along with another book, because I think just starting out you're going to be really confused on its own.
There is also
Winnie Ile Pooh, which I own.
Do you?
I have it upstairs. It's a Latin translation of Winnie the Pooh. Winnie Ile Pooh. I would not suggest picking that book up until you're.
I thought there was a version of that, at least that that gradually introduced you. So there was like there were like words on the side. It was like a study
not in
edition.
my copy. There might be though.
But yeah, because I at one point in time I had Winnie Ile Pooh, and I remember I think it kind of had translations on the side.
Mm-hmm. But if I can give you some tips, the most important part of learning any language is learning the conjugation and learning the declension. So in the conjugation, just go through and just memorize the conjugations. Memorize them. It takes a lot of time. It's painful, but it's the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
To learn Spanish, I picked up a speaking capacity of Spanish in about 6 weeks because I went home every afternoon and I just conjugated for hours every afternoon. Every afternoon for about 6 weeks, I conjugated for 2 hours or so. And was it painful? Yes. But I picked up Spanish basically in about 6 weeks. Not a perfect, you don't pick up any language perfectly in 6 weeks, but from 0 to like 50% I was there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty incredible. So
conjugating is not fun. They're conjugating your verbs. And generally, when you're learning a language, you want to learn words, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say, what is cake? What is giraffe? What is lamp? I love lamp.
Mm-hmm.
But those are less important than knowing how to conjugate, because those words come at you when you're trying to speak, come at you fast and furious. And you have to be able to quickly change the word, I'm talking in the past, or I'm going to talk in the future, or I'm talking in the present, or the past perfect, or whatever. I mean, we do that so easily in English. We just make those changes. But then you have to think about, what am I saying here? I have eaten. I had eaten. I will
have eaten.
I will have eaten.
Mm-hmm.
By this time tomorrow, I will have eaten.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
future perfect.
Okay, future
perfect.
perfect.
It's a future perfect, and that's, I mean.
And I don't use that very often in Spanish. So I don't even, it's ubiera, is it be ubiera?
No, that would be pluperfect.
Pluperfect,
essentially. Technically, that would. I'd have to double check what that actually is. I think it's pluperfect. That imperfect subjunctive, isn't that?
I don't remember.
I always.
But there's like 14 different tenses.
There are. In Latin, there are more.
Hmm.
There are more in Latin. So it takes time. You have to know the subjunctive and all the tenses. You got to know the indicative. And it sounds tough. It is tough, but it's not as hard as what it sounds, I would say. As long as you just take your time to do the exercises and conjugate.
Yep.
Conjugate.
Conjugate.
And in Latin, you also have the problem of declining. So decline. Declining is like conjugating for nouns.
Ah, yeah. Declensions, right?
Exactly. Declensions.
So yes. So it's not just learning the words. The hardest part is learning how they all fit together.
Yeah. It's like a puzzle. If you enjoy puzzles, you'll love Latin.
Hmm.
I don't enjoy puzzles, which is why it's strange. I love Latin though. It's weird.
If you hate puzzles, you'll love Latin. Whatever. If you don't like anything, you'll love Latin.
I've often thought it'd be fun to give a little Latin class. But
well, there you go. That could be your next streaming exercise is Latin via Zoom.
Yep.
How do you say Zoom in Latin, I wonder?
Zoomus?
Decline that Zoom, will you? Speaking of declining, hey, is that a new cup?
It is. I got this as a gift.
Nice.
We had a funeral with the Martin del Campo family.
Oh, a brand new cup.
Exactly, and they gave me a couple mugs, actually. This one, which says Blessed. And another one, which says Jesus and Coffee. They're kind of...
Jesus in coffee?
And coffee.
Oh, Jesus and coffee, yes.
Mm-hmm. So
it's like being with God.
Exactly. So, but I just look at the time and realize we have to get going.
We have to get going. So thanks so much for tuning in. And Karen, I'm glad that you have enjoyed these chats. We will be back for the final episode tomorrow. So tell your friends, gather your popcorn, gather your coffee. We'll have fireworks. No, not really. But I mean, if it weren't so darn hot out, I might turn on the fire just for old time's sake. But I'm not going to do it. But you can see the logs are there. So.
Right.
So we will see you tomorrow. So have a great day, and thus ends today's episode of Fireside Chat.
God bless everyone. Good to see you all.